rare and balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic, providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 500th. That's right, 500th episode. Well, I mean, okay, so I guess you could say that this isn't quite 500 for American Perspective, but it is 500 for me. So there we go. So we're going to go ahead and call it 500 because that's just the way it is. Even though the name change, I'm still the same person. We still talk, for the most part, about the same stuff. But tonight, I want to go back and look at and just grab, I've got a few videos of the milestone marker videos, the milestone marker videos that are out there. I've got clips from each one. And then also, too, I'm going to go back. I have a few videos from some of the interviews that have been, that I've done. So, and it looks like 3 Chevy is on a walkabout. Yeah. You guys, I just got to say thank you all for hanging with me through all of this. There are a bunch of you that have been around since the very beginning. And some of these clips you'll see also kind of take you back a little bit to some of that very beginning. And in some of you are mentioned in there, but don't get upset if you're not mentioned. I'm telling you, I am thankful for every single one of you that are out there, that are doing this. I've got so many people. I'm so blessed by all of you to be here. But before I get into all of that, we do have a couple of things that I do want to talk about in the news prior to us going. And also, too, don't forget that because of what is good, what has happened, you need to lower your flags to have staff. If you have a flag on a flagpole, they've got to be at half staff until the end of the month of January. I believe it's January 28th is where it is. So, I'm just all over the board here. So, with all of that, let me go ahead and get tonight started. Tonight, of course, being the 500th episode, we are going to have the Duke. The Duke is going to recite our Pledge of Allegiance. So if you are of mine, please stand, remove your hat if you're wearing one, like me, and place your hand over your heart and join in with the Duke in the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And, of course, I got to thank one of my longtime Whiskey Warrior P1s for that. That is a bit of 3 Chevy there. 3 Chevy went ahead and grabbed that for me. I do appreciate that. Okay, so obviously the biggest piece of news is the fact that Jimmy Carter has passed on. He has, at age 100, he has gone to go see his wife, Rosalind, a very long time. Now, this sparked a huge debate on the social medias. And by that, I mean, the leftists were saying, oh no, he's, one of the greatest presidents ever lived, which you can debate all that all you want. I can tell you that 2 things can be true at once. The man was a good man. Overall, his entire life, I can tell you, he was a good man. That's truth number 1. Truth number 2 is that he was a horrible, terrible president. I mean, I'm sorry, he just was. He had all kinds of different things. Now, that not, you know, that is not disparaging the man's memory, because out of office, he did a lot of fantastic things. He built houses. He's, you know, spent a lot of time with, I believe it was Habitat for Humanity. He demonstrated what a president past kind of should do, which is disappear from political life and demonstrate through your good works that same level of service. And so he was a good man. And nobody can take that away from him. Not even anybody on the right, realistically. If they're being honest with themselves, nobody can take that away. But that being the case, he was a terrible president. And that's unfortunate that, you know, I mean, it is time. 100 years, that's a long time to live on this earth, for sure. And unfortunately, death is something that no one can avoid, at least as far as I know, at least as far as human beings are aware of. Well, his state funeral is set for January 9th, according to Joe Biden, who happens to be not only the worst president, but he also is a worse human being. See, that's one thing that Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden do not have in common, in the fact that Jimmy Carter was a good man. Joe Biden is a terrible man. And, you know, the mere fact that he is even in the White House is just absolutely amazing. So, anyway. Okay, so Coco de Whiskey is asking who ran against Carter the first time. It was actually Gerald Ford. Because you had Nixon resigned, Ford became president, then Ford tried running against Carter. Ford had essentially the stink of Nixon's loss and stuff in front of him, and he ended up getting into the office. Carter ended up getting into the office, and then didn't do a very good job, obviously, because immediately right after that, Ronald Reagan came in 1980. So anyway, all right. Well, tonight, to celebrate 500, I'm drinking the Four Roses, single barrel. And in fact, in some of these clips that you're going to see, I'll still be crapping the whiskey. Anyway, and tonight it is in the That's What I Do, I Drink and I Know Things glass, with, of course, the requisite stones in the bottom, because as 3 Chevy says, you must have stones in order to drink with whiskey. So there we go. All right. So moving on again with Carter. One of the things that the news media tends to do whenever you run across these things is they tend to gloss over. They tend to gloss over a lot of the bad, and you know that's pretty much what anybody does whenever you're giving like a eulogy or something along those lines. That's kind of what you do, is you sort of gloss over the bad stuff, but. Considering the last 4 or 5 years that we've been dealing with, Joe Biden and glossing over his cognitive decline, according to the Wall Street Journal, that started in the 3rd month of his presidency in April. And by the way, there's plenty of stories now where all of the sycophantic mainstream media is all popping up and saying, oh, we can't believe that happened. But yeah. So anyway, they're of course the mainstream media, because Jimmy Carter is one of their heroes, I guess you could say. It has been, he's been given a lot of friendly reviews by the mainstream media. And again, like I said, I mean, he was a good man. He was a good man. And there's no reason why you shouldn't do that, realistically. But the problem is that they have to, why they feel the need to like totally gloss over and not mention things that, you know, did happen. And they need to understand this. So anyway, here's one of them, which apparently because of the timing of this, they had to like rewrite their evening, shows and headlines and things like that. So here's Mary Bruce, on, I'm not sure what show that is, but Mary Bruce kind of mentioned, she said, you know, the death of the 39th president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, at 100 years old. Carter living longer than any other U.S. president. He served just 4 years in the White House, and this is the part that is glossed over. Went on to transform the role of former presidents, traveling the globe as a fierce defender of human rights. Carter also enjoyed an incredible love story with his wife, Rosalind. The couple, partners in every sense of the word, married for 77 years. Quite an accomplishment, I will say to that. But anyway, this continues. The tribute is pouring in tonight. The flag at the White House is now half staff. The New York Empire State Building is lit up in red, white, and blue. And the mourners are paying their respects, already lining up at the Carter Center. You know, now, again, keep in mind, his personal life was good. And he was a good person. He just was. And that's fine. Highlight that. But to sit here and say that he was a good president, I think is a far stretch. I mean, there were several debacles that he overstood this, and Nora O'Donnell kind of mentions this, and she sort of glossed over some of the harder parts of his presidency. But here she says, in 1976, America's bicentennial year, Carter beat Ford to become the nation's 39th president. But the next 4 years were rocky as oil prices and inflation soared, which again, this is what resulted in a Reagan presidency in 1980, by the way. His popularity sank, yet President Carter did achieve many of his goals. He created the Departments of Energy and Education. Pause that. Done unconstitutionally, because neither one of those individual items is an item that is supposed to be controlled by the federal government. Anyway, established former diplomatic ties with China and returned control of the Panama Canal to Panama. It's kind of interesting that that the Panama Canal returned to Panama, and now Donald Trump is actually talking about possibly taking it back from Panama. Interesting. Anyway, the O'Donnell continues here and says, perhaps his greatest achievement was a historic peace treaty between Israel and Egypt known as the Camp David Accords. Yeah. Okay, you want to celebrate that. That's great. But yet, nobody is celebrating the Abraham Accords that were pretty close to being completed until Joe Biden screwed them up. And as Buddy Weiser points out, Walter Cronkite reminded America every night on the evening news about our hostages in Iran and no gasoline. That's right. They had oil, the oil embargo was going on. We had hostages taken in Iran. And yeah, it was just, it was bad. O'Donnell Also continues here, at the same time, he became the first president to confront the threat of militant Islam. Actually, that is not true. The first president, by the way, to confront militant Islam was actually Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson, he apparently, when they went to Tripoli with John Adams, they were waiting upon Tripoli's ambassador to London in March of 1785. And it was because of the fact that the Barbary States were preying upon American ships, enslaving both crews and passengers. And John Adams and Jefferson were there in London to try and negotiate a way around this, but they were informed by the militant Islam or Muslim people that, quote, it was written in the Quran that all nations who should not have acknowledged their authority were sinners, that it was their right and duty to make war upon whomever they could find and to make slaves of all they could take as prisoners, and that every Muslim, okay, who should be slain in battle was sure to go to paradise. Now, keep in mind, the United States didn't play a part in any of the Crusades. They didn't play a part in any of the Catholic Reconquista of Andalusia. So Jefferson was the first one to take on, confront the threat of militant Islam. But hey, whatever. You know, history, facts don't seem to matter to the mainstream media. O'Donnell continues here. On November 4th, 1979, Iranian militants stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, taking 52 American hostages. A U.S. military attempt to free the hostages in April of 1980 ended in disaster. 8 American servicemen were killed. The very next November, with Americans still held hostage overseas and inflation soaring at home, Jimmy Carter lost his re-election bid in a landslide to Ronald Reagan. Mr. Carter spent his final days in the White House negotiating the release of the hostages. And Iran would not let them go until a few minutes after Carter left. Now, there's a rumor and story running around. No evidence that this is even true, but there's a rumor and story running around that Ronald Reagan actually, and his campaign, enticed Iran to basically keep the hostages until Carter was out of office. And honestly, first of all, I don't see Iran doing that, number one. But number two, I think that just like with what you see happening with Donald Trump, Ronald Reagan was a no-nonsense kind of guy. He was not going to negotiate, as demonstrated at his time at Berkeley, UC Berkeley, during the riots as governor. He was not going to sit there and negotiate, and therefore they weren't. You had a weak president in Jimmy Carter, just like we have a weak president currently in the office with, 20 some odd days left ish, 22, 21. That's the point. And this is part of the reason why you're starting to see things like Hamas getting ready to negotiate release of hostages, and things like some other things like China and stuff, and Russia talking about possibly, maybe, communicating and dealing with some sort of a end to the war. And these are why places like Mexico and Canada are are starting to negotiate in order to avoid the tariffs that are going on. So a lot of people want to gloss over because, again, Jimmy Carter was a good man, but he was horrible as a president. Horrible as a president. So apparently Biden, according to Mike Mamoli over on NBC Nightly News, at least I think that's him. Yeah, NBC, right. Biden has said that he plans to deliver a eulogy for the former president, one that will likely draw on their decades-long relationship. In 1976, Biden, then a young senator, was the first politician outside of Georgia to endorse his Carter's candidacy. In office, both men faced similar challenges, working to bring peace in the Middle East and to secure the release of American hostages. But ultimately, the country's economic struggles contributed to them sharing a distinction as one-term presidents. Yeah. Okay. That's drawing a historic parallel between Biden and Carter, which isn't all that far off, to be honest. But anyway, ABC, CBS, and NBC made sure to paint as rosy of a picture of the Carter presidency as possible. And, unfortunately, whenever they do that, all the people who don't remember Carter's presidency, and I'll be honest with you, I was probably a little too young to really remember his presidency. But that being said, that is exactly what the mainstream media has been trying to do, is rewrite and gloss over actual history. Not mentioned at all is Carter's penchant for murderous dictators. He apparently liked dictators. In fact, he says here, Judy Woodruff on PBS was actually saying his new agenda did lead to an occasional run-in with his successors in the White House, as in 1994 when the Clinton White House balked at Mr. Carter's talks with North Korean leader Kim Il-sung on freezing his government's nuclear program, and in 2002 when he made waves in Cuba, meeting with President Fidel Castro and calling for an end to the decades-long U.S. embargo. He was also a vocal critic, meaning Carter was also a vocal critic of the U.S. invasion in Iraq, but his diplomatic work, including the Camp David Accords, ultimately won him the 2002 Nobel Peace Prize and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. He remained in the public eye through his final years, and he minced no words in his attitudes about President Trump. Now, what he did was he advanced the now known Russian collusion hoax, and he kept pushing it. And he said, there's no doubt that the Russians did interfere in the election. And I think the interference, although not yet qualified, if fully investigated, would show that Donald Trump didn't actually win the election in 2016. No, he did. He did. He won. According to Jimmy Carter, Trump lost the election, and he was put into the office because the Russians interfered. Well, Jimmy was wrong about that. Just like Joe Biden has been wrong about every single thing in foreign policy to date. So here's part of the problem with this whole thing. I mean, completely part of the problem is that the mainstream media are going to sycophantically produce and rewrite a historical accounting of the reality of the situation rather than face the truth and be honest. And that's exactly what they've been doing with Biden for the last 4 years. It's exactly what they've been doing with Trump the years before. And they're not going to stop, folks. They're not going to stop. So, I'm Godspeed, God bless, Jimmy and meeting up with Rosalind and everything else. yeah, it was. It's the end of an era for sure, but unfortunately, it's not in some cases going to be. Sorry, getting rid of a troll. In some cases, it's not going to be the rosy remembrance, or it shouldn't be the rosy remembrance of what it was, because he, by himself, was again a good man, but an absolute horrible president. Okay. So one more other thing, and then we'll get to what we're really here for. So Trump apparently has now endorsed Mike Johnson for Speaker of the House this coming congressional term, according to Daily Caller. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this, because again, I'm still thinking that Mike Johnson's kind of a, I understand he's trying to play a political balancing act, but at the same time, it's not doing him any favors by what he's doing. Now, I honestly don't know who they would necessarily elect in his place, because again, keep in mind, in order to get Speaker of the House, you have to have a majority, and the number of seats that the Republicans have. And again, this is my biggest problem that I have with Republicans, as you saw recently here, if you're in tune with any of the quote unquote internal discussions about the H-1B visa between Elon Vivek and a lot of the Republican insiders. It just, I'm just not entirely sure that he is necessarily going to be the best. But hey, Trump's backing him. Trump said the American people need immediate relief from all of the destructive policies of the last administration. Speaker Mike Johnson is a good, hardworking, religious man. He will do the right thing, and we will continue to win, Trump said in his Truth Social post. So, but considering the fact that he mishandled the continuing resolution last week, Johnson has to kind of gain back some of the trust of several members of his own party, because again, our margin is small within the House of Representatives. And so in order for him to gain the speakership again, he must have the majority, the numerical majority of the House behind him. He's expected to have a 219 to 215 majority for the speaker's election, which means that if he loses one or two votes of support, there could be a new speaker. Now, here's the problem, though. Even getting a new speaker, we would have to have, again, a united front. And this is one of the biggest problems that we have as a part of the Republican Party. Now, if it were the Democrats, no problem. They would have 100% lockstep, boom, that's the way the Democrats roll, is that they are in lockstep with one another, provided that you are on the outside of their group. But the Republicans don't fight that way. The Republicans don't act that way. We still have factions within the Republican Party that essentially are separated ideologically in some instances. And I mean the Republican Party, has never had a full 100% cohesive unit. Even now, you still see Republicans that will cross and join with the Democrats. And that's not something that we need, especially with regards to a Speaker of the House. Now, if you want to replace Mike Johnson, go right ahead. But make sure that you have one singular united front behind whoever it is that you decide to pull forward. And this is part of what happened with the whole Kevin McCarthy episode, which gave us Mike Johnson eventually, is because of the fact that, Kevin McCarthy was more of the middle of the road kind of guy and was able to like get most of the Republicans and some Democrats behind him. But we need to stop the infighting when it comes to specific items like this. And if Johnson ends up being our guy, okay, great. But we need, again, to understand that we don't have the luxury. We have 2 years to fix what is essentially a 12-year conversion of this country. I know. 4 years. You keep talking 4 years because Donald Trump was elected in 4 years. No, we only have 2 because the next election that comes around is not a guarantee. The midterm elections is not a guarantee to where we will maintain any kind of a lead in either the House or the Senate at this point. And what we need to do is focus our energies, focus the Republican Party energies 100% to right the ship's direction in order to get it on the right path so that no matter what happens in 2 years, ideally we win and we continue for another 2 years. Okay. But we need to make sure that we get this done. And we can't afford to sit around and argue within amongst ourselves. And that's the truth. And there's still, according to the piece here in the Daily Caller, there's still a number of House Republicans who have largely been silent on their support for Johnson as Speaker before Trump's post. Even Massey was against him. He basically said, I'm not going to vote for Johnson. And this is what I'm talking about. So the Daily Caller apparently spoke with 3 Republicans who all shared their frustration with Johnson and said it will be hard for him to regain the trust of his colleagues going into the Speaker election. And that the lawmakers were granted anonymity to allow discussion on the sensitive topic. All 3 indicated that his fate may rest in the hands of Donald Trump. Thomas Massey publicly said on December 18th that he would oppose Johnson's bid to remain Speaker and would vote for another candidate. No other House Republicans have said that they plan to challenge Johnson for the speakership, though. So, anyway, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. And if it ends up being Mike Johnson, great. That's all well and good. But again, we only have 2 years assured of our existing House, Senate, and presidency trifecta. There is a possibility, however slight, there is a possibility that something definitely could change in the midterm elections, and that's the key. All right, folks. So, looking back through all of my videos that I have, and let me tell you, I mean, I'm actually here. Let me just go ahead and show you. Why is that not showing? There we go. So if you go to my Rumble page, all of my videos are there. They're not exactly in order all the way back, but yeah, it was definitely interesting going all the way back because as you recall, and let me show you once I get all the way back. I mean, this is pages and pages of these things. So we go all the way back to the end, to the start to when I was wearing a different hat. And 20 pages. Look at this. Look at some of these. Now, that isn't even episode 1. This is episode 6 is here. Back in, like I said, they don't show up in order, but here. Oh, let me just go ahead and play it. So, here in this first clip, let me see. Oh, did I? I don't think I grabbed it. No, I did not. That's okay. Believe me, in the very first episode, you can just see how horrible. Oh my goodness, my quality. I'm looking at the video quality and things like that because that's just the way I roll, but holy smokes, look at that hair. That's anyway. So on to that subject. Last time I did this broadcast, the video didn't come through quite as well, and so I'm hoping that this time look at that. You can see on my ear over here where I was wearing those headphones. I had my hair slicked back and everything else. But you could see on my headphones, I hadn't quite dialed in the green screen yet. Oh my goodness. Now this of course happened during COVID. You got to remember, I mean, I started it. I started the whole thing on April 4th? Yeah, April 4th of 2020. April 4th of 2020. Yeah. Things are looking a little bit better. It's not as Hitch-like, apparently, because... now the audio was good, but the video, whew, wow, the video was bad. Oh, it's kind of fun to go back and take a look at some of this. I know, I mean, again, I've always used a green screen, so, that's never changed, but what has changed is the fact that the green screen has gone from a static image over into the videos, like what I do with the, sorry, I got to take out the movement of the thing, but, yeah, these are, I mean, wow. Anyway, jeez. Oh, yeah. Look at this one, TP and lockdowns. This is the one that I gotta get beyond the starting. Let's get, come on. Under camp. There we go. And then there's the people that are like, no, it's got to be in the over camp. And there's advantages to both. I do see that. But let's be real here. If you're one of those people that gets so wrapped. Oh, talk about grasping for topics. Oh yeah, Buddy Weiser. Buddy's been, look, I gotta give a hat tip to Buddy. Buddy Weiser has been here since probably quite the advocate for me. In fact, I got to give a hat tip to him and credit to him. There were times where he was literally the only person in the chat. He also spent a lot of time going to other channels and recruiting on my behalf to get people over here, especially during the Mark K show. And I'll get to Mark K in a little bit because I do have to give a hat tip to him and his crew for some of the things that they were doing. But I mean, look at this. What? I don't know what I was thinking when I came up with this topic, but under or over, that's like, ooh. Anyway, yeah. So the chat's sitting here. Bam is like, I don't think I've watched one episode with no hat. Well, believe me, they do exist. Coco DeMinky, Coco DeWhiskey said the same thing. Yeah, and So they're actually now ironic. If you go and watch this episode, I'm going to spoiler alert here. If you really want to go and watch this, the patent for the toilet paper roll is actually both. There is a patent for both directions. So technically there's no right answer to this. This is one of those things where you can either do it over or under, and it's technically correct. But the reason that I did this episode had to deal with the fact that, I mean, everybody was hoarding toilet paper. And so it gave me the idea to go ahead and just answer the question, which way do you go? And let me see if I can advance. So, yeah. Here's why I do it the wrong way. He's the cat playing with it. Believe me, if you have cats, you understand this. But again, like I was saying, the fact of the matter is, and I kind of threw together a bunch of things. You got to go and take a look at some of these earlier ones. But here it is. Here's the patent. The original patent, one of them has the roll going under, but then there is another patent that has the roll going over. So, yeah, there you go. So there it is. Oh my gosh, that is yeah. And I struggled in the beginning. I struggled to try and come up with, different topics. And yeah, now you can see Coco's like, it's so much research on TP. Yeah, well, that's just the way I roll. No pun intended. But then of course, some of the better ones that I've had, and keep in mind too, a lot of these earlier ones, I was like trying out all kinds of technological, I had all kinds of technological things that I was doing. For an example, the call-in option. So you can see some of these, I have a call-in option. And of course, keep in mind, I still have that number, by the way. And I have used it in the past, but there wasn't enough people. Oh my gosh, take a look at this. This video, this image. Look at that. Slick back hair. Oh, wow. That was like long hair. I was using the headphones to put it up. Oh, anyway. Oh, buddy. Oh, geez. I think my favorite program was when you sang to your wife. And I think I have that. That might have been our Valentine. What? I'm sorry. What? Mrs. Whiskey just yelled out, "You can sing to me again." But I think I actually pulled that one out. That was a Valentine's. I think it was a Valentine's Day. I pulled a clip of that, which, hey, you know what? Since we're here, let's go ahead. So this is Valentine's Day. And what I did, so you guys understand, I had Kirk, Captain Unicorn. You guys know him as Captain Unicorn. You know him as Captain Kirk. I mean, there's a bunch of different names. But he was the guinea pig on a lot of some of the stuff that I did in the early days. So here it is. Check this out. This is Kirk, his wife, and of course, Mrs. Whiskey, on for Valentine's Day. Just a short little 3-minute clip here. And take a look at this.
Down to business.
Oh.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Whiskey Musings broadcast. As you can see, tonight I am joined by my absolutely beautiful and wonderful wife. I also have 2 other special guests with us. But before I bring them in, I just want to point out, thank you everyone who has subscribed to the channel. I absolutely appreciate it. And don't forget, check out the Whiskey Musings store, logo gear like this. And it's really good quality stuff. So, anyway, we are going to go ahead and get started. And yeah, do you like that? Did you like that? That was kind of cool. Yay! Okay. Look at her face. She's looking at me like, what are you doing? I got to admit, Mrs. Whiskey really didn't catch on to what I was doing here. Of course, back then, I really wasn't hitting my stride. By the way, this one is episode 40, in case you're interested. But anyway, let's continue. Yeah, it's Saturday night. And this is totally unscripted, unedited. I mean, you are getting it live. We don't even know what the heck's going to happen. Honestly, I thought about doing a script, but I always felt that off the cuff was a lot better. Most of my shows are usually off the cuff. I kind of pick a topic and then just sort of ramble on through them. So that's kind of what we're going to do tonight. But I got to bring in my special guests. Here we go. We have the #1 Unicorn Commander in our midst, and along with him we are graced by the presence of the #1 trial addict, his wife, and commander of her own army. We have Captain Kirk Unicorn and Addie. Yeah, as soon as I can bring you in. Yeah, there we go. All right.
Where's the button?
See, I told you, it was totally unscripted, unedited. I mean, that's live show, man, live TV. All right. So, hello everyone. So this is the Valentine's Day edition. I know Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Okay, so just so you guys understand, Michelle is nothing against this at all. Okay, but Michelle is let's say height challenged in some ways. And so for this episode, she ended up being like really, really low. We fixed that later. We got her a stool. But yeah, for this episode, she ended up being really, really low. So that's why she looks extremely shorter than the rest of us. Obviously, Kirk and Addie are sitting down. Now, for those of you that don't know, I stand throughout the entire show. I'm standing up right now. So I don't have a chair behind me or anything else. Now that may change in the future, but for this right now, yeah, it's, but anyway, so we had yeah, put her on a pedestal. I know. Anyway, so yeah, so there you go. That's that, that's that one. But anyway, Kirk had his first appearance. This is a few episodes earlier than this. But Kirk had his first appearance on our first holiday special, episode 34. And it was interesting because what he did is he helped me out.
I've brought in some additional assistance. And let me see now, wait a minute here.
This was one of the first times that he actually did actually did a green screen behind himself. So, yeah. So anyway,
if I can bring him in, hold on. Okay.
Oh, and by the way, I was trying to work out the special effect that I was looking for because of Kirk's, love of Star Trek, things Star Trek related, which by the way, for those that don't know, Kirk is Star Trek, Addie is Star Wars. So the two of them kind of, well, let's just say there's a bit of a rivalry going on there. But anyway, I digress. So here I was playing around with trying to get the effect, which you guys have seen. You guys have actually seen the result of my working on it. But here I'm trying to deal with the effect.
It's this one. Yes. Okay. All right. Wait. Where is he? He's not here. Hold on. Let me Let me press a few buttons. Hang on. Hold on. Let me just get this. Let's see if I can get trying hard here. Okay, wait a minute. That didn't work. That didn't work. Hold on. Let me try again here. Hold it. Got to try it again here.
Oh, and of course, I'm doing all of this live, which is.
There we go. There he is. There he is. Check him out. Oh, my goodness. Hello there, Master Kirk. How are you?
Hi.
Hey, check that out. You know what? I love it. You are wearing a Whiskey Musings logoed gator. I love it.
Okay.
Oh, my gosh. Check that out, guys. Hey. You know, and not only that. Oh my goodness! He not only had the sweatshirt, but he has the T-shirt too. Check that out. Check that out, guys. Oh, thank you so much.
I should hire Kirk as my
awesome.
marketing
Oh my
specialist.
gosh! I cannot believe. I cannot believe. Yes, that is incredible. Thank you very much. Oh
wow!
Very warm.
Well, of course it's warm. I mean, it's supposed to be, right? Right?
Yes.
All right. So.
Let me get the proper holiday spirit.
Oh, yes.
There we go.
Yes, of course. You've got to get in the holiday spirit. Hey, check out the background, too. I mean, I know you and I were talking about it earlier, but look at the background. We've got, a nice little fireplace. Hey, we got a nice little fireplace over there in the corner. We are going to be all toasty warm. And, of course, we're going to be toasty warm. We're going to be talking about drinks and holiday drinks. I know that we have a couple.
Oh, that was the very first holiday drink. And then a little bit later on, I brought him back. This one.
I'll tell you this. Somebody did something to my Facebook feed, and I'm going to tell you why. The reason being is that every single time I go on Facebook, I always get this ad. It has to deal with whiskey rocks or cooling down whiskey, but the product is called Balls of Steel. So I'm constantly being bombarded with balls of steel, okay? I don't have them, all right?
The way you said that is awesome. Thank you.
I don't have them, all right? But I'm being bombarded with balls of steel, okay? So there you go.
Right in the face, too.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's right there in the Facebook, okay? But yeah, I keep getting ads for it. So whoever gave me that, or whoever gave me that idea, I think I'm overdriving my mic a little bit. Whoever gave me that, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But no, I'm not gonna go and buy balls of steel.
Occasionally, I do have a little bit of wittiness in me. Okay, occasionally, usually comes out whenever Kirk's around. Oh, but anyway. Oh my goodness. So after all of that, of course, now keep in mind, we did end up at, where is it? Episode 100. And episode 100, you can, I've got a slight clip here of that. Oh, let's start off. First of all, this is my 100th episode. This is awesome. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. I never thought that a couple years ago that when I started this out, that I would actually be getting to the point of a 100th. Wow. I must have had a problem with my hairbrush that day. There's a little tail sticking out over in the corner. Now notice that actually is, I'm wearing the hat right here. And I have, the ear, I upgraded to the monitors. So this is how we go. Yeah, my balls of steel. Don't forget the Merkins, too. I was going to try and find that one. That was April and the Merkins. That one's out there as well. But anyway, episode. So, in celebration of that, I'm going to give myself... There we go. 100th episode. This is Happy 100. And thank you all who have joined, who have come here. This is incredible. I do appreciate all of you. I appreciate everything that, you bring to the table. Tonight's episode is actually on a hot tip from one of my... Okay. So, obviously... Oh, that was 100. Oh, that was 100. Now, in between 100 and 200... Okay. I had the epiphany to go and try and wrangle in, because at the time, keep in mind, a lot of us was, and Buddy pulls it out right here. He is correct. He remembers trying to get to 100 subs. Yeah, no kidding. And you did a lot of that work, sir. A lot of that work. But during all of this time, in fact, many of you come from the Marquet Show. And one of the things that I was attempting to do was, of course, to try and wrangle between the Marquet Show and my show, was to wrangle some interviews with some stars. Because, again, I was spreading my wings, per se. Well, thankfully, the executive producer of the Marquet Show, now keep in mind, the Marquet Show is no longer in existence in the way it was, that it is now. It's still, Mark still transmits on Rumble, so you can go and check out Rumble. But this was back when he was on the radio in Jacksonville. And what ended up happening was I finally got the executive producer, Hannah Guile. She runs her own, she now has, she works on the radio, a Christian radio station. And she also has her own podcast called We Saved You a Spot with her mom, Barbie. And anyway, I finally wrangled I guess Marquet is now called, it's Marquet Saves the Republic. That was his podcast that he did before, but now he does video with it. But anyway, I went and interviewed Hannah. Now, the biggest challenge with interviewing Hannah was not interviewing Hannah. It had nothing to do with Hannah. Hannah is a delightful young lady, and I do say that because I'm older than her, but a delightful young lady. The problem that we ran across with her had to deal with her internet, because her internet connection at the place that she was living at wasn't exactly the best. But still, well, here we go. This is the first, like, big star interview that I did here on the program. Probably one of the most beautiful people to have ever graced the Whiskey Musings broadcast screen. And I'm not talking about myself. I mean, I am good looking and I'm charming and you know, so on and so forth. But this person, sorry, I got to stop it right here. This. You see the black band underneath the hat? That was there to hold back all the hair, because I really had some serious locks going on there. Anyway, let's continue. Overshadows me. She's known nationwide across many, many places. She is the executive producer, and I am proud and honored and pleased to bring her here tonight. I welcome to the show, as soon as I get the right button here, still messing with the buttons, Hannah Guile. Hannah, how are you tonight?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am doing absolutely wonderful. Thank you again for gracing me with your presence, as well as all of the subscribers that are out there watching live today. I'm seeing the chat light off, everybody saying hello to you. And
hello, everyone.
Yes, this is incredible. You've made a dream of mine come true. I mean, as you know, this is a kind of a okay, maybe there was a little bit of fanboying going on. One thing that you also don't seem to know is that, or may not remember, I should say, is that this was the first, again, high profile interview that I had done. And right before her interview, or just thereafter, I had picked up a couple, some more subscribers, and they had come across. So yes. And this is Hannah pre-baby, according to 3 Chevy. But anyway, let's move on and listen a little bit longer. Fledgling podcast, vodcast, whatever the heck you want to call it. And so your joining me here tonight is a check off the list of things that I have wanted to do. So
I love it. I'm so excited. Can I apologize to your listeners for my horrible quality?
oh yes,
for
absolutely.
video broadcasting? Guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know why, but our internet is so terrible and it is not good for video broadcasting.
Yeah.
But this was the best that I could do.
Well, and I think that's going to be fine as long as your audio comes through fine. I don't believe my subscribers and listeners are going to care because I'll admit this. I am not perfect, and I've had some really bad quality video quality broadcasts out there as well. So no worries.
I totally get that. By the way,
Yes.
I got a text from the one and only Barbie Guile, and she said that my TV had a reflection, so she said show them the fireplace instead. So you're getting a new scenery.
Okay, new scenery. I like it. I like it.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know, I have a video fireplace that I run in. All right, I don't need to finish that. Kind of cut the thing a little long, but Hannah mentions Barbie, and I actually got Barbie's buns, the Barbie's buns recipe from her mom, which were really good, really rich, really good and really rich. But they make a big, huge amount. I got to learn how to cut that back. But I made it once. And I think actually the recipe is part of the pack that I put together for the holiday shows, all the holiday recipes. But anyway, I digress. Back to where I was at. So Hannah, I was able to grab. Now, keep in mind, what you guys don't realize is behind the scenes, before we had picked up Jay Bose as the other producer or engineer of the Mark K Show, there was another gentleman ahead of him, and his name was Josh. And so Josh, I had emailed Josh prior to this and tried to get Josh to come on the show. And it wasn't until Hannah actually stepped in as the executive producer and took over the tasks of answering emails that I was able to actually get Hannah involved. Now, all of that being done, so I was able to acquire the interview with Hannah. Not going to say scored. I thought about that, but I'm not going to say scored. I was able to get the interview with Hannah, and then shortly thereafter, I was able, and before I move on to that, so, wow, yeah, the longtime folks are sitting here in the chat. They're talking about shut up, Josh, defund Josh. Yeah, that was all stuff that we were doing because Josh wasn't exactly, shall we say, politically aligned with the rest of the show. But right after this interview, the Whiskey Musings broadcast gained Jacksonville, Florida fame by being talked about on the Mark K Show.
Where entertaining meets informative.
This show makes the listener feel like it's my show. You make bad news sound good.
Mark K for 3 hours a day. Loving it!
This is the Mark K Show.
Okay, so before we get too far into that was Mark's intro. And let me see if I can, I'm hoping that I can hit far enough. Let's see where we're at here. So they started talking about it, and
if you need to shove jalapeno peppers in my nostrils just to get me to wake up,
just put the kimchi in there.
Pickled quail eggs. Yeah, you have my permission. 855-940-MARK. By the way, Hannah was the special guest on a podcast this past weekend.
It was so much fun.
One of our friends that we made from Rumble, a guy named, his name's Rick, but his podcast is Whiskey Musings.
Correct.
Which is a great name for a podcast. It really tells you, because anybody who drinks whiskey, really what they do is they muse.
Yeah.
You know, once you drink whiskey, like enough of it, you start to talk, but you're not talking. You're not really telling. You're musing.
Yeah.
You're doing things that
and
you normally.
And he had his whiskey in hand.
Of course he. I mean, he's got to be.
It was something Redbreast. I can't remember. And then there was a 12.
Well, that's probably way out of my price range. But anyway, we have a little clip. Here's Hannah being interviewed about her job on this podcast.
Off, not this past week, but the week before. and Joe Kelly was filling in. We didn't stream because there was people we were in different locations, so it was just too difficult. And I felt so much less stressed,
right?
Not having to interact. It was sad.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. You were less stressed when I was on vacation?
No, because we weren't streaming, so it was a little more like laid back, because we would have the actual breaks as breaks.
Good cover.
No,
Good
you'll
cover.
hear it later in the video.
I just feel like here's what I heard. Last week, Mark was off, and I was way less stressed.
No, that's not.
That's how it sounded in my head.
About cutting up people's audio.
No, it was pretty stressful, I thought.
Oh my goodness.
See, Jay was stressed.
Well, yeah, because he had to push a lot of different buttons than usual.
Well, you're pushing some of your own buttons right now. I'm going to be honest.
Anyway, all right. So I do have to call out this. So notice in this clip, I got to move out of the way. Take a look at Jay's shirt. You see that pink leopard print shirt? Yeah, that comes up here in just a minute because shortly after, so Hannah was episode 117. 10 episodes later, and keep in mind, back then I was only transmitting on Wednesday and Saturday nights. I wasn't doing every day of the week like I'm doing now. But anyway, about 10 episodes later, I wrangled Jay into an interview. And, let's just say this one was a lot more, shall we say, relaxed. So talking about the show, so obviously the show itself, it's on the radio and you stream. I listen to it on Rumble all the time. That is my only place to go. In fact, I really push Rumble here, even on this show. But one thing that we noticed that you have is you have this, shall we say, plethora of interesting shirts.
Yeah.
So and sometimes it's kind of like, okay, well, what's Jay gonna wear today? That kind of thing. And for a while there, I'll be honest, I was actually gonna start calling you Blue Jay because all you did was wear blue. And then of course you pulled out that pink leopard print one day, and I was like, oh, well, that kind of throws that off. And then you popped up the pink one with the I think it's the palm trees that are on it.
Yeah.
And that one came out, and I'm just like, oh, well, that shoots that all to hell. So let me ask you this. I mean, what started the whole idea of wearing those interesting and unique shirts?
Well, I mean, normally a lot of my T-shirts have always just been Bulls and Bears, since it was something I did for 4 years, and they were so breathable, and I just had, I don't know, way too many. I still have like 15, 16 of them. But my wife kept saying, you got to stop wearing the Bulls and Bears stuff. That was years ago. Get over it. You need to start wearing something else if you're going to be on camera. And I was like, well, then how about I just find something just unique and throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, okay, how many shirts do you have? I was like, I don't know, 2. So then we just started buying shirts, and it just became a thing. So
I think you should continue that thing. So anyway, Jay, of course, continued with the shirts, and yeah, they were kind of Hawaiian in nature. But Jay continued the shirts. There were shirts that had M16s, or sorry, not M16s, but the AR platform, and stuff like that. So he really embraced the what would be considered conservative way of the show. Well, then, after Jay went on to the podcast here, Mark made the comment, now wait a minute. He's like, hold on. Hannah's been on this podcast. Jay's been on this podcast. Why have I never been invited on this podcast? Well, he actually was invited. Because remember how I told you how Josh was precursor to Jay. I had sent a request to Josh to try and get Mark onto the show. He was slated to be the first one. Well, that's fine. It didn't work out. Not a big deal. But I eventually picked up the trifecta. So this one got the feather in the cap, and here I even mention it to the great Mark
to
K.
the number one liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings broadcast, and I am your absolutely over the moon, psyched out host. I have got the greatest celebrity interview for you tonight, the best one that I have done on this podcast. I have been so excited, and what's even cooler about this is the fact that with this interview, I actually complete the trifecta. That's right. I have gotten all of the Mark K show staff. I started off with Hannah, who was nice enough to come on the program first. Then I got Jay Money Bose coming in, and now I finally have the Patriot Commander, the one, the only Mark K of the Mark K show, here with me live tonight. You know, I've got to tell you, I started off this podcast. I've let it grow. It's kind of grown into different things, and I've put out a survey for you guys to let me know what you want to see. Some people said they want to see more interviews with more interesting people. I couldn't get a more interesting person than the one that we have tonight. He is diverse in terms of he publishes things like the Patriot Manifesto. He also has published, and it is on sale right now at Amazon if you want to go get it, the book GETTR, the greatest poems about the worst president. He also is a musical talent, and we can call him a musical genius with his alter ego, Bluegrass Boy. And not only that, but he hosts a internationally known, nationally syndicated broadcast show from noon to 3 Eastern Time, weekdays, Monday through Friday. Let me introduce to you the man, the Patriot Commander, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mark K. Oop. There you are, Mark.
Let me unmute myself.
Yeah.
The myth, the legend forgot to unmute his microphone.
Yeah, well, that's okay. I forgot to unmute you on this end, so.
Oh, look at that. Great minds think alike.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey, thank you so much for coming to the program. I am so excited. I know a ton of people who are on the stream right now, especially over on Rumble right now, that are looking and watching this. I can tell you that my subscribers, I think I added another 25 to 30 just in the few hours since your show and this broadcast. So, okay, so you understand that particular comment. What ended up happening is Mark announced that he was going to be on the broadcast that day on his show. And realistically, this honestly, outside of my Thanksgiving coverage of the Mark K show, which I did shortly thereafter this, where I basically restreamed the Thanksgiving episode because Mark was off, would take that week off. That is still ranks as one of my top performing videos, even today. But up until that point, this interview was the top one. And yes, Mark is a self-promoter, for sure. That was according to 3 Chevy. I can't take credit for that. But he definitely is. But anyway, let's just listen in a little bit more on Mark. So
yeah, oh, that's fantastic.
So I thank you very, very, very much. I have a lot of burning questions. I'm going to be honest with you. I've tried to shoot them to you in the chat during your show, and unfortunately, I mean, you're just so busy. You just got so much stuff going on.
Well, I'm glad that I come off as busy. That's good.
Yeah,
that's
well,
good. And, a lot of people think I'm just ignoring them, but at least you've been able to cut through that.
Yeah, I mean, I know that you're, looking through and setting up for the next segment. You've got, communication with your executive producer, Hannah, and of course your board operator and producer, Jay. Yeah, so I understand that. And I think a lot of people don't seem to get that, but I mean, there's sometimes where you're going to have to look on your computer digitally for the next thing. It's not like this type of a show where I have a chance to plan 100% ahead of time.
Right.
and that kind of thing. So I got to be honest with you. I think this is the longest that Mark has had to sit quiet. I just kept going. I don't know why. I know that for you, there's like late breaking news and things like that that pop. So totally understandable. But you know what? I've got you for as long as I can, and I'm going to hit you up with some questions here and some things. I even had a couple people send me a couple of questions.
Oh no! Wait a minute.
It's okay. Believe me, I have censored some of them, and it's not going to make certain people happy, but too bad. I am not going to throw you to the wolves necessarily, but there are a couple questions in here that were not on the original list. So,
good.
So we'll go with that. All right. So first of all, by the way, folks, he actually hung out for a lot longer than what he was intended to be on the program. I originally told him that it would be maybe 30 minutes, and it ended up being a full, I think, hour or so. So anyway, honestly, for whatever you want to think about Mark, he was honestly very gracious throughout this entire thing. So I got to give him props for that. He was definitely gracious for that. But anyway, we'll move on from there. So that actually was the springboard, I think, that really took us into the next segment. And so now I'm just going to show the next 4 videos are just really short clips, fairly short clips of the milestones of it. So tonight is the 200th episode. Okay, so I gotta tell you a little bit more. So, and I know, regardless of what you may think, Buddy Weiser has been a big part of this program, and he has sent me many backgrounds. This is one of them. He has sent me many videos, suggestions. A lot of the things, like, for an example, starting off with the Pledge of Allegiance, that was his idea. And so I got to give a lot of credit to him for helping the entire program along. And there's, don't get me wrong, there's others. There are plenty of others. This is by no means, this is not me producing a product that has been like a takeaway. It is all due to my Whiskey Warrior P1s that have been around here for a long time. I can tell you, I have scores of backgrounds that Buddy would send me, and I would incorporate them as much as possible. Even now, he has sent me pictures of and links to videos to do, like, my snowy background cabins. He still sends me those, and I am forever grateful to him for everything that he has done. I mean, he's been a silent partner about this. Same thing with Outlaw Dogs, as an example, and there's a piece here coming up with her involved. But let's just continue with this. So here's the 200th episode celebration of the Whiskey Musings broadcast. It is a thing to celebrate. I cannot believe that I have put together 200 total live streams. And they're all out there. I mean, they're all out in the ethosphere, so you can go and take a look at any one of them at any time that you want. Hello, Mrs. Whiskey. But tonight I am drinking Buffalo Trace for tonight's drink. And it's the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. That's what I have on tap here for tonight. And 200 episodes. Oh my gosh. I can't even believe it. I honestly, I can't believe I've been doing this for what I've got. But you know what? I have probably 200,000. I've got so much energy and I'm ready to go. And it's all due to you folks out there who are coming every single live stream that come in. And even if you don't make every single live, it's fine. you go and you watch the show afterwards. You drop you'll drop messages to me, whether it's through email or through like the Rumble comments or whatever, and I just love it. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. That is so true. I can't tell you guys enough. I mean, considering the fact that this is 500 live streams, okay? First of all, when I started this out, I mean, one of the pieces of advice that I was given in the very beginning is that when you're doing podcasting, vodcasting, whatever the hell you call this, okay, I was told that it was a long game. So I entered it into the idea, I should say, that it was going to be a long time. And so every time I reached a milestone, whether it was 200, 100, 200, 250, 4, 5, whatever, the whole idea is not to quit, because you never really know, according to this professional in the podcasting space who I consulted with, you never really know what's going to become the next big viral thing. And so part of the reason why I keep coming back is because you guys keep coming back. Because I get those email messages. I get the Facebook Messenger messages. I get all of the things. I see your comments. I see, I can't help but thank all of you for everything that you have done here for me on this program. Yes, I'm the host that stands here in front of the camera, but none of that would matter if it weren't for the fact that all of you keep showing up every single day. And trust me, even though I may not say it, if I don't see you in the chat, I recognize that you're not there. Okay? So you are important to me. You're very important to me. And so take it for whatever you want, but you are important to me, and you're helping to be the driving force for me to do what I am doing here. And I hope that someday that we are all able to meet, at least in person, because that would be, to me, that would be fantastic. But anyway, let's go on. We've got 250 here. Okay. Great things have been happening. I've been getting photos and pictures of people, all my Whiskey Warrior P1s from all over the place. They are giving me, or they are sending me pictures of not only them in Whiskey Warrior gear, but also they are running around. Those of you who have the Whiskey Musings button from a giveaway that we did. I think it was on the 4th of July when it was done. But anyway, the giveaway that we did with all the buttons that I say we, it was actually Outlaw Dogs. Got to give credit where credit is due. She's the one that created up all of the buttons. She's the one that spent all the time sending them out. She's the one that resent out others. When the Postal Service screwed up and ripped up the packages and lost the buttons. But anyway, got to give credit where credit is due. She did a fantastic job. Hopefully we'll do another one sometime in the near future. But anyway, those of you that have the buttons have been running around and sending me photos. I've gotten photos from the Flight 93 Memorial. I got a photo of the button and also the Constitution of the United States, the leather-bound Constitution version, or leather-bound version of the Constitution in Constitution, in front of the Constitution. And also I received a button, a button from 3 Chevy, actually, a button picture from 3 Chevy as well. I am so happy, and you guys don't know when I see those photos, you guys need to you just don't even know what it does for me, you know. So obviously I can't express myself very well, which is nothing unusual for me. But here's the thing: when you guys send me photos of you in your Whiskey Musings gear, even if you go in like the American Perspective gear, if you happen to pick any of those up, your hats, you know, things like that, buttons, all of this stuff, this is it is so cool to see it. It really is. I mean, just from somebody who really isn't a part of what would be considered a you know, mainstream kind of outlet, it's so refreshing to see this stuff. And I get images and things like that from Amy. She has worn gear out to her dog events, to the agility events and things like that. She has sent me videos. It's stuff like that, folks, that really drives me and this show. You guys are the main reason why I am doing this broadcast, and hopefully I'm providing a good quality product for all of you. But whenever you send me pictures and videos and stories and things of all of that, it's just amazing to me to see all of that, to know that you guys are out there and that you're participating as a part of this. And these buttons, by the way, this button idea with the Whiskey Musing button, that was all Outlaw Dogs. I had nothing to do with that. Cheryl did a fantastic job on the button and coordinated all of that. Stuff. I had nothing to do with it. It was all on her. And it was when she did it, it was just incredible to me. It was incredible to me. So, but anyway, so let's move on. So that was 250. Here's 300. Thank you, 3 Chevy, for that. If you want to submit your version, or you saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please do so at fans@AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. And I will get you into the rotation. Because I'll be honest with you, you guys listen enough to me talking, so you don't need to hear me anymore. I want to hear about you guys. I want to hear you guys saying the Pledge of Allegiance, because that would be awesome. Also, too, for those that don't know, I have two segments that I do, 2 special segments that I do. One of them is on Wednesday nights. It's called the Pet of the Week, and I haven't had any submissions here recently, so that's why it hasn't been showing up, but it's on the Wednesday show. So if you have a pet that you would like featured on Pet of the Week, you can also submit that to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at AmericanPerspective.online. I also have a question of the week, which normally would happen tonight as the special segment at the end of the show, end of the broadcast, but unfortunately nobody submitted a question this week. So, okay, a couple of things. First of all, a lot of people have been asking about Cheryl, because obviously she hasn't been in for a little while. I'm just going to tell you right now, she is seriously busy with her water moccasins swim team. She is the coach of the swim team. They are the unofficial mascot of the formerly Whiskey Musings broadcast, now American Perspective show. And so she it gets very busy this time of year, and it's very difficult for her to come in at times, especially during the week. And so, but she is there. And in fact, she actually went around and she offered to get to try and get Riley Gaines. At one point we tried to do a actual live broadcast from a Trump rally. That unfortunately the technology didn't quite work out for that. And so, yeah. So as Mark pointed out, yeah, we have AP because obviously you see the background change, for the 300th episode. That actually happened at around 280. It swapped over, to American Perspective, because as the show grew, I was starting to branch out from doing different things, and it went from Whiskey Musings over to American Perspective. It was purely a marketing thing for me, and it actually has helped slightly. I won't say 100%, but it has definitely helped slightly, and it's given a more, I think it, in terms of the name change, it actually has given a little bit more perspective, no pun intended, on what we actually talk about here, what I actually talk about here. And I do want to point out, though, that the question of the week, the pet of the week, and, of course, the On This Day in American History, all three of those came from ideas basically from all of you guys, the fans. They were things that I thought about, and something that was either said to me in an email, in a comment, in passing on a stream, in a chat, something along those lines that triggered all of those. So those three, and they are all three fan favorites. Okay. All three of them came from ideas that you guys created for you. So this is as much your show as it is mine. I'm just the simple host, the person sitting here, being the guy on the camera, but you guys are the ones that have created all of this. And also too, like Buddy mentioned, I went from 2 days to six days. Now that was a recommendation, or a suggestion, I should say, by my partner in True Grit Roots Network, Jonathan Oogie Richards, who basically was saying, hey, I think you can get more people if you go to 6 days a week. And again, while that has helped a little bit, and it has expanded my base a little bit, it's you guys that are the consistent got people that come back. And the fact that you guys show up again, you guys don't understand. You're taking time out of your busy days to come and spend time here on the program, whether it's the live program or even later, and you comment later. I mean, I can't, 500 episodes is all because of you. It has nothing to do with me. I'm just a mere conduit for what this is. So anyway, so that was 300. Let's move on to 400 really quick. And here's another, by the way, background put together by
Hello,
Buddy
everyone,
Weiser.
and welcome to American Perspective. I am your host, Rick. Sergeant No. There you go, sir. All right. He's one of my one of the guys that comes over to. Okay. He's one of the guys that comes over from the McGroin Nation, and yeah, he had he did a salute to me in the chat. So there we go. All right. Yeah. So there we go. I've got a few people. I see some people.
Boy, was I distracted. I don't know what the heck I was distracted for, but wow, I was distracted. Anyway,
popping up it's some new people popping up in the chats over on Rumble, also on Facebook. We've got, hello, Becky. There's Becky over on Facebook. And then we have, let's see. I don't normally see how many. It looks like we've got about 5, or maybe more than that. 8, maybe 6 or 8 over on X. Welcome
Welcome to the program. If this is your first time, I got a couple over on, well, maybe one over on YouTube. Welcome to everyone. All right. So let's go ahead and get things started. Of course, today is
down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
That's right. Today is Whiskey Wednesday, and I am at the bottom of the barrel, basically. So that the creation of that Whiskey Wednesday. First of all, that was sent to me by one of you. I'm sorry, I can't recall specifically who that was in terms of the graphic, but the idea of putting the old Whiskey Musings intro behind it came from Music Man. Music Man made a comment about how he missed the old introduction. And so I was able to salvage that audio and bring it back into the whole show. And eventually I am going to bring, I'm telling you, I still have plans to bring back Whiskey Musings as a segment of the program. I know I keep talking about it. I know I keep mentioning it, but I've got to give homage to what started everything here on the program. And so eventually it will come back. I'm still working out some of the details and things like that. And you're right, Coco, that was right around the time that the McGroins started appearing, which I don't know if you guys realize this, but at least the last time that I checked, which was before Christmas, the McGroins have actually been advertising this show in order to help promote the show. They have a channel on Rumble that they run 24/7. It's basically all they do is they just put up it's like a PowerPoint presentation / video kind of thing where they rotate through a lot of the shows that they promote. And, you know, obviously there's the Dan Bongino show, there's the Nunn Report, there's Kyle Serafin's show, and then there's mine, which is, you know, very, very small in comparison to the rest. But I can't thank them necessarily enough for the promotion of the show. And they took my logo, they accepted what I was doing, and occasionally you'll see like Braden McGroin will pop in. You'll see Pops McGroin does one of our Pledge of Allegiance spots. So, you know, understanding that this was a lot of work to get here, and it wasn't me. It was everyone. It was all of you as well to bring us up to this level. And so, you know, thank you. Thank all of you for everything you have done, and thank all of you. And by the way, Coco 3 Chevy is right. You sing quite well. In fact, I got to bring that back. I got to bring that singing clip back at some point. Maybe I'll do that in the beginning of the year. But anyway. So I know this sounds like a broken record, but I can't thank all of you enough. You guys have done such a wonderful thing for me. And without even knowing me, you really don't. I mean, I live on a complete opposite side of the country from most of you. Some of you are on the West Coast, but the majority of you are on the East Coast. And you took a chance and you keep coming back because apparently I am able to give you the entertainment, the information, the show that you are looking for. And so as a final thing, before we take off here, as a final thing, I just want to ask if there is anything that you guys think that I should be doing in order to improve the show, some ideas, because like I pointed out, just about everything that I have done here so far has come from you. Because what you want, okay, what you guys want is what I want to produce for you. So if you have any ideas, all right, for any ideas for this, just send them off to me. Send them off to fans at AmericanPerspective.online. That's fans at AmericanPerspective.online. And I look forward to reading your guys' emails, seeing all of your guys' pictures, watching your guys' videos, and hearing your guys' experiences and whatever else you want to send to me for the next 500 episodes. Have a great and safe New Year's Eve tomorrow and New Year's Day beyond. Try to recover as quickly as you can. And I will see you back here on Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on American Perspective. Thank all of you for being a part of this, well, let's just say it, this family, the American Perspective family. You guys are Whiskey Warriors through and through, Whiskey Warrior P1s, and I appreciate every single one of you. Good night, everybody, and we'll see you in the new year.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.